All right, let's jump right into this. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you've just been handed the absolute highest stakes security mission on the planet. You are a Secret Service agent on the Advanced Survey Team, and your job is to guarantee the total safety of the President of the United States in a foreign, totally unfamiliar city. When we see the President waving from a motorcade on TV, it just looks like this simple, highly polished event. But the invisible infrastructure keeping that one single human being safe, it is arguably the most complex, expensive, and meticulously choreographed security operation in the entire world. So today, in this explainer, we are going completely behind the scenes. We're going to look at this massive protocol directly through your eyes, the eyes of an agent on the ground, and we're going to focus entirely on the crazy risk assessment and operational coordination it takes to actually pull this off.
So, where do you even start with protecting the highest value target on Earth? Well, it's all about the timeline. Your mission in the host country doesn't just begin when the plane lands, it starts 4 to 5 months prior. The second the president signs off on that presidential decision memo, your advanced survey team hits the ground in the host city. And your sole purpose from that moment on is to analyze every single inch of the environment, literally hunting for vulnerabilities.
First up, Phase 1, securing the landing zone.
Before the president's plane is anywhere near the airspace, your team negotiates and takes total operational control of a massive section of the host country's airport. And the physical scale of your demands here is just wild. Air Force One cannot just land anywhere. You absolutely require a runway that is precisely 150 feet wide and at least 10,800 feet long. If it's even a few hundred feet short, it's a no-go, period. And once you've got that tarmac secured, you're out there mapping observer points on every single elevated roof, hangar, and control tower for your sniper teams. But hey, your risk assessment goes way beyond just concrete and sightlines, right? You can't even trust the local aviation fuel. Your team, which actually includes Defense Energy Support Center managers, physically collects samples of the host country's Jet A1 fuel and ships it all the way back to labs in the United States for testing. Only if it passes that microscopic quality check is it actually cleared to be put into Air Force One. Moving right along to Phase 2, mapping emergency routes. Okay, so the landing zone is locked down. Your next massive hurdle is mapping a flawless path to the hotel, and ideally, this drive takes no more than 15 to 20 minutes, because time on the road is time exposed, so speed and simplicity are your best friends here. You are actively rejecting any dangerous routes, anything with blind turns or narrow streets that would prevent your huge convoy from making an emergency U-turn. Your approved route has to be broad, easily cleared, and this is the absolute primary requirement here, it must be within a 20-minute drive of a Level 1 trauma center, ideally one that has a helipad. And the level of jaw-dropping minutia your team considers is literally insane. You are actually out there calculating the direction of the sun to make sure the glare isn't going to blind your motorcade drivers. Your communications experts are using satellite maps to hunt for radio dead zones along the street. If there is even one spot where the convoy's secure connection to the White House might drop, you mandate the installation of extra repeater antennas. You are leaving absolutely nothing to chance.
Which brings us to Phase 3, real-time threat management.
As that arrival date creeps closer, you've got to secure the whole environment dynamically. You're managing potential threats from the sky and the ground at the exact same time. And to give you eyes everywhere, the US military literally alters the schedules and flight paths of its global satellite network. They shift their priorities just to give your team continuous, high-resolution, real-time aerial feeds of the host city's critical routes. Meanwhile, down on the ground, you're working with local police to enforce a really strict 2 to 3 kilometer civilian no-fly and exclusion zone around the airport and your key venues. Down inside that zone, your snipers and drone operators take their positions, and they aren't just looking for the obvious dangers. They are trained to monitor microscopic threats from over a mile away. Think about that. If the sun catches a weird glare off a random piece of glass or a cracked window across the city, your team is assessing that in real time as a potential hazard. Now, locking down the actual event space takes things to a whole other level. We are talking 6.8-ton anti-ram barricades that can dead stop a truck flying at 80 kilometers per hour. You even run underground vibration tests to detect if anyone is digging tunnels beneath the stage. And get this, here's a super surprising, highly specific local detail. During visits to places like India, to protect the president from aggressive local monkeys without violating animal cruelty laws, teams have actually hired humans to mimic the sounds of predatory langur monkeys to scare them away. It just proves your risk assessment has to adapt to literally any local threat. Next is Phase 4, locking down the hotel.
Listen, you don't just pull up and book the presidential suite. Your team basically takes over the entire building and turns it into an impenetrable 7-layer security fortress. The whole floor the president is on, plus the floors directly above and below it, get completely cleared out and secured. And look at the modifications you have to make to this luxury space. You're swapping out the room's windows for ballistic, bulletproof glass. You remove the TVs and all electronic items entirely, just to be sure there are no hidden listening devices. You even set up duplicate kitchens. 2 identical meals are cooked at the same time in case one is compromised, and every single thing the president eats goes through a microbiological food testing lab first.
Now, this next detail absolutely blew my mind, and it really shows you the totality of what we're talking about here. The rule is no biological trace left behind. The hotel toilets are literally sealed off. Your team brings in a highly specialized portable toilet. All of the president's urine and stool are collected and securely transported all the way back to the United States. Why? Because you have to completely eliminate the risk of some foreign intelligence agency analyzing that waste to figure out the president's precise health status, their DNA, or what specific medications they might be taking. So before you even think about giving the final green light, you actually have to hack your own system. Your Secret Service team acts as the enemy. You run these intense mock drills where your own agents use fake passports and dummy tickets to actively try and breach the hotel and airport perimeters you just set up. You are deliberately probing for loopholes in the barricades and protocols before the real arrival happens. Finally, we hit Phase 5, the moving fortress. All right, it's go time. The president is coming in. But days before Air Force One even takes off, massive U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster cargo planes land in the host country. They're dropping off helicopters, radar systems, K-9 units, and the absolute crown jewel of the whole operation, the presidential motorcade. Right at the center of that is the primary car, famously codenamed the Beast. Just look at that number, 9,000 kilograms. It's built on a massive truck frame. The doors alone weigh as much as the cabin doors on a Boeing 757 passenger jet, and the windows are 5-inch thick ballistic glass that can take direct fire and explosives. Inside, it's basically a rolling survival bunker. The whole cabin is hermetically sealed with military-grade HEPA filters, so it's totally immune to chemical or biological attacks. It's got run-flat tires, a foam-filled fuel tank so it won't explode if it gets hit, and crazy countermeasures like tear gas, smoke screens, and oil slicks. And incredibly, there's a refrigerator right in the trunk that's stocked with the president's exact blood type in case of an absolute catastrophe. But of course, the Beast doesn't just drive down the street by itself. It's part of this massive, heavily choreographed moving puzzle. Miles ahead, you've got a route car checking the path. Then the sweepers come through to clear traffic. In the middle is Stagecoach. That's the Beast, and it's usually traveling next to identical decoy vehicles, constantly playing a shell game and shuffling positions. Right behind them is the Watchtower, a vehicle just blasting electronic countermeasures to jam any remote detonators. Behind that, you've got a hazmat truck ready for chemical threats. And finally, the Roadrunner, which is this rolling data encryption center, keeping the whole motorcade connected to those military satellites up in space. So, what does all of this actually take to pull off? Well, the sheer scale of this coordination comes with an astronomical price tag. While the exact numbers are highly classified, reports estimate that operating this flawless global security apparatus can hit upwards of $200 million a day. To put that into perspective for you, protecting this one individual for just a few days can cost as much as the daily GDP of an entire small nation. And you know, all of this leaves us with a pretty staggering realization. Everything we just explored in this explainer, the satellite reprioritization, the biological waste collection, the 9,000-kilo rolling bunkers, that is just the baseline. That's the standard operating procedure for a peaceful visit, just a handshake and a smile for the cameras. It really makes you wonder, if this is the monumental hidden machinery required when everything is going perfectly right, what exactly is the protocol when things go wrong? Definitely something to think about the next time you see a motorcade roll by on the news. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one.